Welcome back to Face the State on this Sunday morning. Election Day is 40-odd days away, and it's a big year in your city or town because of the municipal elections. Still a very important election coming up in November. With us today to talk about this, two former mayors. Rob Bouvier, former Republican mayor of West Hartford, almost 20 years ago now, right?
Absolutely.
And John Picard, former mayor of West Haven, a Democrat, and you left office just about 6 years ago.
Correct, Dennis.
Gentlemen, thank you for being with us here today. And, you know, Republicans are saying, well, we'll run against Governor Lamont. Democrats say we'll run against President Trump. They're not on the ballot. Is that smart strategy, you think, Mayor Bouvier?
You know, no. I just think all elections are local. When you affect local change in policies, it could be your Board of Education, it could be your local town council, all politics are local. And I think whether or not you've got a president that you want to see in office, or a governor you want to see in office, or statewide offices for that matter, it's so important to show up for local elections, because that's where all the local decisions are made.
And on the flip side, some of these local candidates often have to defend President Trump if you're a Republican, or you have to defend Governor Lamont's policies if you're a Democrat. Is that difficult?
I don't think it's difficult, and you know, we're going to, Republican and Democrat agree here. I agree with Rob. It is local. The local issues, your school board, your legislative bodies, your finances, all that's important. Whether you're not running with President Trump, you're not running with or for Governor Lamont. So to me, that doesn't really matter. It's just, you know what, get people out to vote. Municipal elections are important.
Because they sometimes sit out these elections. Yes. The turnout is very low. Why? What's the message? Why should people vote?
It's mind-boggling because, Dennis, in some countries in this world, they don't bother to ask you what your vote is because they don't care to count it. And I think that's a blessing we have living in this country, that people want to know what your vote is and they want you to weigh in. And that's, I think, a responsibility that we owe as citizens of this country.
And we've all seen the predictions of doom, people moving out of the state, the moving trucks, and our out-migration apparently is higher than our in-migration. How is that impacting local cities and towns, for example, in your town of West Haven?
You know, West Haven and also Madison, people are leaving the state. Now, I do think that's something that can be corrected. You want to create jobs. You want people to have a place to work. You want to make it affordable. I remember, you know, not to repeat history, back in the 80s, a lot of people were closing schools, and in the 90s, they were all looking to put additions on a lot of towns. So some of it's cyclical, but some of it's our own fault, and we have to turn that around. We have to keep people in the state and provide great education, affordable living, and jobs.
On the surface, people seem to be, businesses in West Hartford seem to be thriving, but you're still being impacted by the people leaving as well, correct?
No doubt, Dennis. And to John's point, I think it's in our collective interest to make sure that we're keeping people here in this state. We have an office in Nashville where they have an in-migration of 81 families a day. I'm sorry, I misspoke, 81 people a day into Nashville against our out-migration. And Connecticut is third in the nation with people leaving the state. So I think it's important that we strike a balance, because without people here to pay the taxes, no one's going to be here to pay for our obligations that we owe to our state workers.
You know, there are some folks, including the governor, who would like to see more regionalism. He might want to see, you know, West Hartford and East Hartford and Hartford all combine some services, and the Havens get together, because there's a lot of duplicity here. But people don't want that, do they, in their town? Yeah. They always seem to vote against it.
I agree, and just what people don't know, or most people are afraid of change. When I was mayor, we actually collaborated 7 or 8 towns and started showcasing the region. I don't know if you remember that, Dennis, but we had New Haven and North Haven and West Haven, Republican and Democrats. We worked together to market the region, and I think that's the first thing you do. If you can get some new development from outside Connecticut, have them come to this region, and they share part of the tax revenue, then you could start to do other things. I think that's the first step, because once you do that, then you can start, sharing the expense side in terms of regionalism, whether it's schools or, ERS or things of that nature.
Does West Hartford regionalize at all?
We do with, say, the Metropolitan District Commission, the Health District. We regionalize with Bloomfield. And we've got 169 separate municipalities in the state of Connecticut. I mean, it's wholly inefficient. But it's another matter to get at that, because people want local control to make sure decisions are impacting them locally. I think there are efficiencies to be made, and that's a discussion that we need to have.
I want to talk a little bit about 3 of the big races in the state right now: Bridgeport, Hartford, and New Haven. In Hartford and New Haven, of course, Mayor Harp lost the primary in New Haven to Justin Elliker. She's not ruled out running again. And Eddie Perez, a former mayor, lost to current mayor Luke Bronin in Hartford. He may still run. And in Bridgeport, Mayor Ganem had a very close race, and now Marilyn Monroe, a state senator, wants to run a write-in candidacy. How difficult is that?
Yes, speaking from experience on the write-in candidacy, it's very difficult. I did have name recognition. I was an 8-year incumbent and came very close, but without that, it's very hard to win in either New Haven or Bridgeport or sometimes West Haven or Hartford. Not being the Democrat is very difficult. If you believe in yourself and you want to run and you want to affect change, no one should stop you, but it's a very difficult road to go across.
Do you agree, Mayor?
Yeah, I would agree. I was pleased to see Mayor Bronin prevail in that. I think he's done some good things for the city of Hartford. More needs to be done, obviously, but Hartford was on the brink of bankruptcy, and he was able to stave that off with the help of some corporate support. I think you can start to see signs of life in the city of Hartford with housing and retail, and we're bullish on Connecticut. You have to be. I mean, we're Yankees here, and there's a lot more to come, and we're hoping for some good leadership well into the future.
Let's talk about your party, because they're often accused of abandoning the cities and not fielding candidates in these cities.
Yeah, and that's true. And I was watching your program where you had the Republican endorsed running as a Democrat, but and that's the fact that we were talking about this earlier, John, coming in is that's the case in our cities where the Democratic Party is all but non-existent, and I think the two-party system is so critical to the health of our cities because no one has the market cornered on good ideas, and I think you need a free-flowing exchange of good things to help build our cities back to what they were.
How have the cutbacks in city and town aid from the state government impacted local government?
Again, it makes it very difficult for the elected official, whether it's a first selectman or the mayor, to do their job. They're dependent in large part on that state, finance and state aid, so it does make it difficult. But to go to Rob's point, Connecticut's got a lot to offer, and we have to start promoting this state more than any other. We're between Boston and New York. We got beautiful quality of life, credible institutions of higher learning. We have to create more jobs, bring in more revenue, so it's not solely dependent on the state. And that's what and you always have to control expenses.
Quick question: do either of you plan on running again?
No.
For mayor, no.
Oh, for something else though.
For something else, yes.
Good enough. All right. We'll stay tuned at that. All right. Rob Bouvier, John Picard, thanks so much for being on the program today.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks for watching.